Well, folks, last time we covered a small and car from 1989 with the wonderfully funky and weird Honda Civic wagon. This week we flash forward 20 years to see where Nissan's take on the subcompact hatch was. The 2010 Nissan Versa S is certainly a frumpy little car, and while it may not carry the Radwood cachet of that Honda, it's still a perfect budget first car for a teen. Don't laugh, folks. We all have to start somewhere when it comes to our first car. In fact, I'm sure most people's first cars looked a lot like this: a compact, budget minded car, often of a Japanese or Korean make. Not everyone is blessed enough to have a Mustang or a newer pickup truck as their first vehicle. For most of us, we learn the roads in frumpy little cars like this. For me, it was a bright red 1996 Geo Tracker 2-door that helped me form my love for weird little cars. So while most will balk at a light blue 2010 Nissan Versa S, for someone like its owner Sophia, it represents the independence of the open road, the world opening up for a young adult, and a small trickle of hope towards the future. So, I covered the second gen Versa hatch known as the Versa Note early in my channel's life, and honestly, I look back at that video and just see a lot of cringe. At the time I was trying to force being weird and quirky, much like other bigger car reviewers, and honestly had no idea what I was doing. But I briefly touched upon the history of the Versa, complimented its handsome looks, and way overplayed my dismay for the Jatcode CVT that was plaguing period Nissans at the time. I like to think that I've come a long way in making these videos, so I'm gonna probably go over the history of the Versa again so folks don't have to suffer from that crappy video. Heck, if I get an opportunity to film another second gen Versa, I'll take it. Most of my videos from that first year, I'd love to do a redo of. But sorry for the rambling, let's get back on track. The Nissan Versa was Nissan's re-entry into the subcompact market in North America. Like many Japanese cars, Nissan's previous small entry had grown from the point that it had entered a whole other class, with the 5th generation Sentra being that car. For a whole model generation, a large gap existed in Nissan's lineup. Well, this simply wasn't going to work, as Nissan was looking to expand its lineup to fill every spot necessary. This is what I consider the Americanization of Nissan's lineup, as it began to get filled with American-built models with American tastes in mind. Well, for its subcompact model, Nissan would go back to its homeland of Japan and bring a couple of those models to our shores. Now, things get a little complicated here. Sharing a common platform, the Nissan B platform, and featuring similar styling, Nissan took these two models, the Tita hatch and the Latio sedan, and offered them in the Americas as the hatch and sedan versions of the Versa. Introduced in 2006 as a 2007 model, Nissan had high hopes for these frumpy little cars. Nissan claimed the name was short for Versatile Space, and would build these North American versions of these Japanese cars in Aguascalientes, Mexico. Most models got the 1.8-liter MR18DE straight 4 that produced 122 horsepower and 127 foot-pounds of torque. Starting in 2009, the sedan got the optional 1.6-liter HR16DE i4 that produced 107 horsepower and 111 foot-pounds of torque that'd be that car's base engine, known as the Nissan Versa 1.6. Two trim models were available, the S and the SL. Base transmission in the S was the 4-speed automatic, while the Jatco CVT and 5-speed manual were available. And that's all tied together in this funky little design. Just look at it. This is the evolution of the subcompact wedge that we saw last time on Wookie Drives with the 1989 Honda Civic wagon. At the same time Honda was rediscovering that a frumpy little hatch would be a fantastic sell for young people with the fit, Nissan was coming out with the Versa. Now, a lot of mid to late aughts Nissan's designs haven't really aged well in my opinion. The first generation Armada looks like two roof designs tacked into one, and that period Sentra was just too bulky for my liking. But the first generation Versa hatch's design is aged really well. I think it's a handsome little hatch, something I also hold the same opinion of with the second generation, known as the Versa Note. Inside is what you pretty much expect out of a subcompact economy car. It's simple yet practical. There's plenty of space for you and your things inside. The center stack is refreshingly screenless. Remember when cars didn't have screens in them? Instead, you have some cool uses of space, such as this storage container directly above the radio. You even get an aux jack. My biggest surprise here was the fact that there's 4 cup holders. Yeah, I know, the rear ones are technically meant for the rear passengers, but yeah, they're quite useful for the front passengers. Something I really wouldn't expect in a subcompact economy car. Of course, rear passenger space is adequate as my tall and fat butt fit perfectly fine with plenty of headroom. Of course, back here it's kind of sparse as there's not really anything back here, but this is one of the cheapest cars sold in America at the time. It's not a Rolls Royce. And of course, there's plenty of rear storage space. But one thing I think it's lacking big time is the rear seats don't exactly fold flat with the cargo area. It just seems like an inefficient use of space, especially since Nissan was already doing this sort of thing with their larger vehicles such as the Pathfinder. But as it sits, there's still plenty of space as it is. You can just tell with the toolkit and spare parts that the car owner's father left for her, just in case she has an issue driving to work or school. On the road, it's fine. Throttle response, I think, is a little better than the outgoing Ford Focus. It's like really on the nose with the throttle. Stops good, steers okay. The tires on this particular car were very worn out and really felt like they were just kind of tracking everywhere, but yeah, on the road, it's fine. It's nothing inoffensive, and the car will get up and go in the traffic as you need. It's no sports car, but it's not slow like a 5-speed Saturn Ion. And this is where I'll reiterate that this is someone's first car. Sophia and her dad, Tim, were gracious enough to let me film this car for the show. And they wondered why, since Tim and his girlfriend both drive what would many consider infinitely cooler cars. But I digressed, as I saw this as a perfect opportunity to talk about first cars. As I mentioned before, not everyone is blessed to have their parents buy them a brand new car with the peace of mind of a warranty and the best safety money can buy. Most of us instead get hand-me-downs from the family, or their parents find a cheap runabout that they know can be easily maintained and hopefully reliable. This 2010 Nissan Versa S sits proudly in that second group of cars. Sophia's father bought this car as he knew it'd be decent on gas with 28 city and 34 highway. I know it's kind of meh compared to modern cars, but it's fine for this application, and that'd be more than enough car for her and her friends. When it was purchased, it only needed a battery, and of course there's the previously mentioned tires, but it's been taken strong in the past year and a half. Her father, Tim, put together an emergency toolkit for her, as well as getting her a first aid kit and even a spare tire and wheel. While some may see that as excessive, Tim has a little peace of mind knowing that Sophia has the ability to work on her car in the event it does have a hiccup. As I mentioned before, the biggest issue right now is the tires as they're badly worn, and the pleather that's come off the armrest on the driver's side door, and the damage to the right rear of the car thanks to a friend of hers who backed into the poor Versa in their own driveway. But the little Versa proudly gets her to class and work without nary a protest, and it even serves as a shuttle for their dog, Loki, quite often. First cars don't need to be cutting-edge beacons of safety, or the cutting edge of cool and sporty. Young drivers are often thrown in way over their heads, given expensive cars that, while get them cool guy points at school, they probably shouldn't be handling in the first place. Cars are not toys, and we trust our 15 and 16-year-olds with the keys to 2 to 3 ton wrecking balls with a little bit of training and often an easy-to-pass driving test. Young and first-time drivers will make mistakes. Young and first-time drivers will make bad decisions. But a first car, no matter how nerdy or uncool it may be, represents a little beacon of freedom for a teen eagerly awaiting to stake it out on their own. I think a car like this, a 2010 Nissan Versa S, is the perfect first car for a kid. It handles decently well, so they can learn driving dynamics. It has more than enough power to merge into traffic safely, and it has plenty of space for school and sports gear, and offers decent visibility so they can see what they're aiming their 2-ton hunk of metal at. Kids don't need a sports car as their first car. Kids don't need a muscle car as their first car. And kids especially don't need a jacked up truck as their first car. No, kids just need an car. They need to learn to be responsible and safe drivers. They need a car that it won't be the end of the world for them when they, or their friends, eventually back into something with. A first generation Nissan Versa is that kind of and car that offers all of that. And as much as they may protest, your kid's first car doesn't need to earn them cool points at school. Trust me, I had a car that was very uncool at the time. They just need an car, and that's where a Japanese subcompact 5-door hatch like this 2010 Nissan Versa S comes in. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you once again for watching another episode of Wookie Drives. Couple of shout outs for this one. Huge shout out to my friend Tim and his daughter Sophia for letting me drive her first car for this episode and just talk about first cars all together. I think this was a fun episode to write for that reason. Also, huge shout out to my fiance Tori for helping me film this car while Sophia and Tim were at work. She was a huge help in helping me get in the drive-by B-roll for this video and has been a real big supporter of this small channel. If you have a car or truck that you'd like to see on the show and happen to be in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, email me at wookiedrives@gmail.com with your car. That's right, submit your car to wookiedrives@gmail.com to help be on the show. That's wookiedrives@gmail.com. Don't forget to give the video a like, drop a comment with some feedback. Any feedback is good feedback in my opinion, as any sort of interaction really helps this little channel grow. Go ahead and share with all your Nissan Versa hatch friends. And finally, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell for notifications for more Wookie Drives like these. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.
It's too small, car's too small.
Autoclaustrophobia. It's taken a devastating toll, but its days are numbered, thanks to the all-new Nissan Versa. Versa treats small car symptoms with best-in-class interior space.
Now this is roomy.
Versa lets you be carefree and hands-free with Bluetooth technology.
I like that.
Versa will help you take control of autoclaustrophobia today. Ask your Nissan dealer if Versa is right for you.
Oh, you're so cute.